What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. We're here to make predictions for the 2024 Miami Grand Prix. That's right, we are in the United States of America for the first time this season in F1, and we're racing around the Hard Rock Stadium parking lot once again for the Miami Grand Prix. The Miami Grand Prix this year is a sprint race weekend, so we're throwing that in for our predictions as well. We're going to talk about our biggest positive surprise, our biggest disappointments, our qualifying top three, sprint winner, race podium, and we'll wrap things up with our one crazy prediction. You'll also notice as the video goes on a black bar with some text along the bottom of the screen. That is my community giving their predictions for this weekend as well. If you're interested in being featured in the videos, jump in the link in the description, join the Discord, and then every race week I'll make a call for predictions and they'll be included here, and you can hop in our little season-long competition. But let's go ahead, without further ado, jump on into this thing and start with our biggest positive surprise. Let's kick our predictions off with our biggest positive surprise, and this weekend I have gone with Alex Albon as my pick for biggest positive surprise. Williams seems to do well around Miami. We've seen it the last 2 years that they have gone to Miami to race around the Hard Rock Stadium, and in all truth, Williams has had a very underwhelming year to start this season, and I think it's been far too long since we've seen a true Albano masterclass, and I think we're going to see it this weekend in a track that should suit the Williams pretty decently with those long straights and fast corners, as well as we've just not seen a true Albon masterclass in general. Alex is a very good driver, and it's been too long since we've seen him put it all together and have a very successful weekend. I believe this also marks a weekend where Williams will have an extra chassis available, so they should be able to push with the comfort knowing that they have that there. So congratulations, Alex. You're my pick for biggest positive surprise. Let's move on now to our pick for biggest disappointment this weekend, and I have gone with George Russell. I think George has had a very almost anonymous last year in 5 races so far that it really just don't see that much from him, and I think that's just because he's been performing very steadily, but unfortunately at the same time just very underwhelmingly at the same time. And kind of in the same way, it's been a long time since we've seen an Albon masterclass. I feel like it's been a while since we've seen a true stinker from one of those top 3 teams, 3-4 teams. We see it with Stroll all the time, so I'm not including Aston Martin there. And so it's one of those things also where it's just like the vibes around Mercedes are almost at an all-time low right now. Lewis did have a good sprint race in China, but obviously followed it up by qualifying in the bottom 5 for the Grand Prix, and while he did end up scoring points, I think he had some help with some safety car timings as well. It's just nothing about Mercedes right now is screaming confidence, and I just have a weird feeling this weekend that they're gonna feel the wrath of the universe, and I think we see George have a particularly stinky weekend, especially when Miami, it's only so much to get up for a race like Miami. Moving on now to our qualifying top 3, and now this is our Grand Prix qualifying, not sprint qualifying. We do not acknowledge sprint races on this channel outside of the winner, which we'll see their prediction next. So this is the Grand Prix Sunday race qualifying, and we'll start at the top, like always, as if it could be anybody else. Max Verstappen is my prediction to take pole this weekend around Miami. I don't feel the need to go into that literally anymore. Now we could actually, I say that as I go into it, we actually could potentially see a bit of drama, obviously with the Adrian Newey news this week leading up to the Grand Prix weekend. Who knows what could happen? That is, at the same time though, Max is an actual robot, and I do not foresee anybody else taking pole position away from him. Moving on to P2, I have gone for Carlos Sainz. Carlos qualified very, very well here last year as well, and also has just been absolutely killing it this season. The Ferrari is absolutely working well for him, and while the new livery may not be our favorites, I do think Carlos has shown a very good propensity for overachieving and performing near his peak this year so far, and I think we can see it continue in qualifying here this weekend. And then rounding out our qualifying top 3, this is where I'm going out on a bit of a limb here, but not too far because we did see it just a week and a half ago. Fernando Alonso rounding out my top 3. He also qualified very, very well here last year. Now, it did come with the aid of a Charles Leclerc spin in Q3, which cut the session short, but I do think Fernando has shown a very good pace here around Miami, and I think we'll see it again this weekend. So that rounds out my qualifying top 3. Very quickly, let's touch on our sprint winners. And by winners, I mean winner, because me and everyone and their mother has predicted Max Verstappen to win the sprint race. Shocker, I know. I know you're on the edge of your seat waiting for that one, but unfortunately, no. We need to take the easy points when they arrive for us. So Max Verstappen, our pick for sprint winner. Coming down the home stretch, we're moving on to our race podium. That's right, the top 3 finishers on Sunday here in Miami. We'll start once again at the top. Max Verstappen, my pick for the winner of the Miami Grand Prix. Once again, don't really feel like I need to go into too much detail here. Max is on another level in a car that is in another stratosphere compared to the rest of the grid. I don't see anything happening unless we see a freak thing that really mixes things up like we saw in Australia. But at that point, that was the outlier more than the norm. And so we have to, once again, take the points when they're available to us. Max, congratulations. Moving on to P2 in his rightful place so far this season as well, Sergio Perez. We did see Sergio take pole position here last year, but at the same time, his qualifying this year has left a little bit to be desired. I do think there are some drivers in cars that are able to put in enough one-lap pace to kind of pip him in qualifying. But at the end of the day, the race pace in the RB19 is insane, and I do not believe we'll see anything unless, once again, a freak thing messes with the order. But Sergio, you're my pick for P2. And then rounding out our podium, who else could it be than the smooth operator? Carlos Sainz is my pick for P3. The rounding out our podium predictions. Carlos, once again, absolutely on fire to start this year. And Miami, another one of those that I think should suit the Ferrari very, very well. And I think he'll be able to do what he's been doing so far this year and extracting very, very good race pace out of this car and put it on the podium. So that rounds it out. What do you think? Who do you think is going to finish on the podium this weekend? Let's wrap these predictions up with our one crazy prediction for the Miami Grand Prix. I've gone for something we see sometimes, but not necessarily all that often, especially this year with a dominant car on the grid like we do now. I have gone for my one crazy prediction of we will see a last lap pass for a podium position on Sunday. Now, I, for whatever reason, just think the Miami Grand Prix is going to perform better than most people likely do. For whatever reason, I just feel like this year the Miami circuit is just going to do well to really give us an opportunity to see some close racing all the way to the finish. Now, obviously, this can be impacted by safety cars, red flags, anything that could, shake up the order and cause us to move into one of those, let's all do 35 laps on a set of hards and nobody pass anybody. But I just have an inkling in the back of my head that we're going to see a little bit of excitement in this one, and we're going to see an overtake on the final lap for a spot on the podium. Now, obviously, my predictions include that I think this will be Carlos, but I wouldn't be mad to see it any other way. But that wraps up our predictions, guys. What do you think of my predictions? Let me know what you think down in the comments below, what your predictions would be. As always, if you haven't already, subscribe down below. We'd love to have you if you enjoy F1 or sim racing experiences. Leave a comment what your predictions are, and as always, leave a thumbs up if you enjoyed the video. I'm looking forward to seeing the Miami weekend. I'm excited that it's going to be at a normal time for once for me here in the United States. But until then, I hope you enjoy the weekend. We'll be back after the weekend is wrapped up for our race recap. But until then, I'll see you in the next one.